Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. Today, I would like to do something a little different. Instead of talking about leadership, culture, or decision making, I want to have a conversation with someone I haven't seen in a very long time, the young coach I used to be. If I had the opportunity to sit across from him today, I don't think we would spend much time talking about offenses, defenses, practice plans, or game strategies. Years ago, I probably would have thought those were the most important conversations a coach could have. Today, not so sure. Because the longer I have coached, the more I have realized that basketball was never the most complicated part of coaching. People were. When I first started coaching, I believed my responsibility was to know more than anyone else. I thought great coaches were the ones with the best systems, the best drills, the best scoring reports, and the quickest answers. I believed that if I worked hard enough, studied enough, and learned enough basketball, everything else would naturally fall into place. Looking back, I understand why I thought that. Basketball is measurable. You can study it, diagram it, break it down, improve it. People are different. People carry fears you cannot see, dreams they rarely speak about, families you know very little about, personal struggles they often keep hidden. Every player walks into the gym carrying a story that exists long before practice begins. As a young coach, I didn't fully understand that. I saw players. I should have I should have been seeing people. That may sound like a small difference, but I believe it changes everything. Because if you only see the athlete, your goal becomes improving performance. If you see the person, your responsibility becomes much greater. You begin asking different questions. Not only, how can I help this player score more points, but how can I help this young person become more confident? How can I teach responsibility? How can I build trust? How can I prepare them for life long after basketball is over? Those questions never appeared in my first practice plans. If I'm honest, they rarely crossed my mind. Like many young coaches, I was eager to prove myself. I wanted players to respect me. I wanted other coaches to respect me. I wanted to demonstrate that I belong. Looking back, I think I misunderstood where respect actually comes from. I thought respect came from having the right answers. Now I believe respect grows from something much quieter: consistency, honesty, humility, fairness. People don't trust you because you know everything. They trust you because your words and your actions continue to match over time. That lesson took years to learn. Another mistake I made was believing that every practice was primarily about basketball. Today, I would say basketball is often just a setting. The real lessons happen in the conversations before practice begins, in the way teammates respond after a mistake, in how players handle disappointment, in whether someone chooses to encourage a teammate instead of criticizing them. Those moments are easy to overlook because they don't appear on a scoreboard. Yet, I have come to believe they are the moments that matter most. The older I become, the more convinced I am that coaching has very little to do with producing perfect athletes. It has everything to do with helping imperfect people grow. That includes the coach. Because one of the greatest surprises of my career has been realizing that coaching changes the coach just as much as it changes the players. Every season has challenged me. Every team has taught me something. Every difficult conversation has revealed another area where I still needed to grow. I used to think experience meant having fewer questions. Instead, experience has given me better questions. Questions about leadership, questions about relationships, questions about patience, and questions about influence. Questions about what truly lasts after the final buzzer sounds. And perhaps that has been the greatest lesson of all. The coach I thought I needed to become was someone who knew more basketball. The coach I'm still trying to become is someone who understands people more deeply. Those are not the same journey. And somewhere between those two versions of myself, I discovered that the game was never the greatest teacher. The people were. The longer I coach, the more I realize that my greatest teachers have never been books. They have been people. Every team I have coached has taught me something different. Some teams taught me patience, some taught me resilience, some taught me that talent and character are not always found together. Other reminded me that the belief can often accomplish what talent alone cannot. When I was younger, I thought coaching meant standing in front of the team. Now I understand that coaching begins long before everyone speaks. It begins by paying attention, listening, observing, trying to understand the person standing in front of you. Every player carries something invisible into the gym. Some carry confidence, others carry fear. Some carry pressure from home, others carry disappointment they never speak about. Some are trying to prove themselves, others are simply trying to believe they belong. As coaches, we often spend hours studying game film, watching every possession, every defensive rotation, every offensive mistake. Yet, how much time do we spend trying to understand the people wearing the jerseys? That question has challenged me throughout my career because basketball is predictable, but people are not. A player who looks distracted may not be lazy, or a player who seems angry may actually be hurting inside. A player who stops talking may not have lost interest, perhaps they have simply lost confidence. The scoreboard never tells you those stories. Neither does a stats sheet. You only discover them when trust has been built. That changed the way I approach coaching. I stopped asking only, how do I make this player better? I started asking, what does this player need from me today? Some days the answer was technical instruction, some days it was accountability, some days it was encouragement, and some days it was simply listening without immediately trying to solve the problem. I used to think every conversation needed an answer. Now I believe some conversations simply need someone willing to listen. That may be one of the greatest lessons coaching has taught me. People rarely grow because someone gave them another lecture. People grow because someone made them feel seen, respected, valued, believed in. I have come to believe that one of the greatest gifts a coach can give an athlete is belief before confidence. Confidence usually follows success. Belief often comes before it. Sometimes a player needs someone who sees potential long before results make that potential obvious. That doesn't mean lowering standards. In fact, I think the opposite is true. The coaches who believed in me expected more from me, not less. They challenged me, corrected me, held me accountable. Because belief without accountability is not belief at all. It's comfort. Real belief is, I know you are capable of more, and because I care about your future, I refuse to let you settle for less. Well, I didn't fully understand that when I first began coaching. Sometimes I thought being a good coach meant making players happy. Now I think a better question is this: am I helping this player become the person they are capable of becoming? Those are not always the same. Growth is rarely comfortable. Learning is often frustrating. Accountability can feel difficult. Yet many of the conversations that players appreciate most years later are the conversations they didn't enjoy at that time. Not because they were harsh, they were honest. Honesty delivered with genuine care is one of the greatest forms of respect we can offer another person. As coaches, we often ask players to trust us, but trust is never demanded, it is earned. Not in one speech, not in one season, it is built through hundreds of ordinary moments. Keeping your word, being consistent, treating every player with dignity, showing up prepared, admitting when you were wrong, listening before speaking, doing what you expect others to do. Players notice those things much more than we sometimes realize. That has changed my understanding of leadership. Leadership is not standing in front of people. Leadership is creating an environment where people can become better than they believed they could become on their own. And perhaps that's the greatest privilege coaching has given me. Not the opportunity to teach basketball, but the opportunity to walk alongside people during some of the most important years of their lives. Because one day every practice ends, every season ends, every career ends, but the person who walks away from the game continues living. If basketball was the only thing we taught them, then our influence ended with the final buzzer. If we helped shape their character, then perhaps our coaching continues long after the game is over. As I reflect on my journey as a coach, I realize there is one lesson that has become clearer with every season. Coaching is not something you master. It is something you continue learning for the rest of your life. There was a time when I believed experience meant eventually having all the answers. Now I believe experience teaches something entirely different. It teaches humility. Because every new team reminds you that people cannot be coached with a formula. The same words that inspire one athlete may discourage another. The same approach that motivates one team may create distance with the next. People are wonderfully different. And because they are different, coaching will always require more than knowledge. It requires wisdom. And wisdom is not knowing more. Wisdom is knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to challenge, when to encourage, when to step back, and when to step back. I have also learned that the greatest coaches are rarely remembered because they were the smartest people in the gym. They are remembered because they made people feel valued, safe, challenged, respected, believed in. Think about the coaches who influenced your life. And what do you remember? You remember every practice? Every drill? Every squatting report? Probably not. But I imagine you remember how they made you feel. You remember whether they treated everyone fairly, whether they believed in you during difficult seasons, whether they cared about you beyond the game, whether they saw you as more than an athlete. That's influence. And influence has very little to do with a clipboard. One of the greatest compliments a coach can receive is not, Coach, we won because of you. It is, Coach, I became a better person because of you. To me, that's success. Because championships eventually become memories. Banners fade. Records are broken. Stats are forgotten. But character continues living through the people we influence. Perhaps that's why coaching is such a remarkable responsibility. For a few years, players trust us with an important part of their lives. They allow us into moments of joy, moments of frustration, failure, uncertainty. They may remember, they may never remember every lesson we planned, but they will always remember how we treated them in those moments. Now, looking back, I wish I had understood that sooner. I wish I had spent less time trying to prove I was a knowledgeable coach and more time becoming a trustworthy person. Less time trying to impress people and more time trying to understand them. And less time worrying about whether players respected my authority and more time asking whether they trusted my intentions. Because trust changes everything. Players who trust you accept correction differently. They compete differently. They communicate differently. They become willing to be vulnerable. Not because they fear the coach, because they know the coach genuinely wants what is best for them. That kind of trust cannot be demanded. It is earned through hundreds of ordinary moments. Showing up prepared, keeping your word, being consistent, admitting mistakes, treating every player with dignity, whether they score 20 points or never leave the bench. Those moments rarely make headlines, but they quickly build a culture where people can flourish. And perhaps that's what coaching has always been about. Not creating perfect athletes, not creating perfect teams, helping imperfect people discover what they are capable of becoming, including ourselves. Because every season has changed me. Every athlete has taught me something. Some taught me patience, others taught me resilience. Some reminded me never to underestimate quiet leadership, others challenged me to become a better listener. The truth is, I didn't shape every player I coached. Many of them shaped me. For that, I will always be grateful. If I could sit beside the young coach I once was, I wouldn't begin by talking about basketball. I would begin by talking about people. I would tell him that leadership is built long before tip off, that relationships matter more than reputation, that listening is often more powerful than speaking, that humility earns more respect than ego ever will, and that the greatest victories a coach experiences rarely appear on a scoreboard. Finally, I would tell him something I have come to believe with all my heart. One day your players will forget many of the games you coached. They will forget the scores, the plays, the scouting reports, even some of the championships. But they will never ever forget how you made them feel about themselves. They will remember whether you believed in them, whether you challenged them, whether you treated them with respect, whether you helped them become more confident, more disciplined, more resilient, more compassionate, and more prepared for life beyond basketball. Because long after the final buzzer sounds, long after the gym lights are turned off, long after the trophies have gathered dust, the influence of a coach continues walking through the world in the lives of the people they invested in. Perhaps that's why this podcast has always been called Beyond the Scoreboard. Because the scoreboard tells us who won the game, it never tells us who changed their life. If I have learned anything throughout my coaching journey, it is this. Winning games is a wonderful achievement. Helping people become better human beings is even a greater one. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Beyond the Scoreboard. Until next time, remember this. The greatest legacy of a coach is not measured by the number of championships they win. It is measured by the number of lives that are forever better because they were there.